everyone. This is Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our Center Court interview with a very special guest from Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, in fact. We have Juliana Roth, who is the director of the MBA for Working Professionals at the Asia School of Business, and also a head of student services there to tell us about really what I believe is one of the most unique, unusual, innovative, and fascinating MBA programs on the planet. And as we get into this discussion, you'll understand why. But you know, what always impressed me about this school is that because it was created not all that long ago and created in conjunction with MIT Sloan, basically a blank piece of paper was put out, and the MIT Sloan folks were able to design a program without legacy issues, without investments by other faculty in given departments or areas. And they were able to create a program like none other, and a program that's incredibly more modern and focused on doing. There is more active learning and experiential learning in this program than any other MBA program in the world. And Juliana's going to tell us all about it. And one interesting thing about Juliana is that she joined the Asia School of Business in 2018 from Emory's Goizueta School of Business, where she had spent 20 years. Juliana, welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me today.
Okay, so I gave you a big build up. Now you've got to deliver on this. So tell us what makes the program unique. And I mean unique, I don't even mean unusual. You know, unique is one of a kind.
No, so certainly, thank you. So the school was started with the founding vision from Tanshri Dr. Seti Aziz, which is very unique because she used to be the head of the Central Bank of Malaysia. So most business schools have been established for a while, and it's very rare for a central bank to come forward. But the reason that she wanted to do this, and Malaysia was behind it, is because she wanted to be able to build a top-ranked business school in Malaysia to attract global talent and to be able to create tomorrow's leaders for Asia. So whether they have a desire to work in Asia or work with Asia. And then, so once she started this vision and came with it and got approvals, then she went forward and she found a business school, and she went with MIT Sloan specifically because of the action learning. So MIT Sloan actually coined the term action learning, and we have incorporated in our program in steroids. So in addition, as you had previously mentioned, that we don't have the legacy issues. When our Dean Charlie Fine sat down to start looking at the curriculum with the MIT faculty, it was a blank slate. So they looked at how to build this world-class curriculum to make certain that you get all the fundamentals that you need, but also focus on application. And so I would say at least 1/3 to 1/2 of our program is focused entirely on application of what you learn to the real world, whether that be in projects in your class, whether that is on an action learning project, which you have every single semester and takes about 1/3 of the semester, or whether that's in a practicum, which is a 1-week intensive within a company. So it's not just applied within the classroom, but it's applied literally working with business leaders. And these business leaders can be in Malaysia, they can be throughout Southeast Asia. It's where we find the great projects. We look for the most exciting projects that are focused on the areas our students want to learn. And our action learning team finds those, brings them in, and students literally vote on what they want to do.
In fact, there are 5 action learning projects throughout the program, right?
Correct. So our action learning program, initially when it started up, is students would complete an action learning project each semester. So the first 2 semesters, the first year, then summer, they would do what we call a summer associate program, which is like an internship at the MBA level, where they do a one-on-one project within a company. And then in the second year, then they would do 2 additional. So we've taken that and we've now changed the curriculum to allow students that have jobs to be able to graduate within 4 semesters. And so we've taken the 5th one and we spread it across the 4 semesters as well. So the 5th one was always entrepreneurship, because we want to make certain that when you leave the program, that not only can you work anywhere in the world, but that you can also build a business anywhere in the world. And we give you the tools and teach you how to do that.
Right. And so you have a 21th program and you have a 16th program, right?
So it's the same program, but students have the option of finishing early.
Mhm.
And what we found usually is that when students have jobs, they finish early. And when students are still job hunting, because a lot of job hunting in Asia takes place the last semester. So this is when they want a lighter schedule. They're still engaged, they're still learning, but they focus more on the job hunting in the last semester so that they can get the placement that they want.
Right. Now, another unusual aspect of your MBA program is a 4-week immersion at MIT Sloan.
Correct. And in
What?
fact, actually, this is the students, our class of 22 is at MIT right now as we speak. They're wrapping up their final week of the immersion. So our students take approximately a third of their classes with MIT faculty. Most of the time, the faculty fly over to Asia and they teach a 1-week course. And then we also bring the students to Sloan because we want them to understand. I mean, we are literally built on MIT DNA. And we want them to understand what this is and what this means. So they spend 4 weeks at MIT, and they also take classes, and they get to participate as students. So student club events, or get to network with students and anything that's going on campus. And while we've had them here, they've also toured the Innovation Center and gotten a chance to really get integrated, to know what's going on with the Innovation Hub and everything that they're working on, as well as any events that MIT has going on. We get them engaged for that month. And when they graduate, they actually graduate with a certificate from MIT in addition to their MBA from ASB.
Uh-huh. And you have industry tracks in the US and in China.
We do. So I have to admit, with COVID, some of this has been thrown for a loop, okay? Because, I'm sorry, but the reason is because with China right now, with the ability to enter, it takes 21 days. So we've actually rerouted that to Dubai this year, but we are extremely hopeful that we can return to China again this fall. But in the US, we've also done treks. This particular year, we skipped New York because we used to hit New York every single year. We've skipped it just because we were in January at the heart of COVID. And we're going to make certain if April looks promising, then we'll probably return in April.
And I think you've gone to Silicon Valley in the past as well, right?
We have. In fact, we went to Silicon Valley. We've gone to Washington, D.C. And then the last couple of years, we've gone to New York simply because where we found we can get all the Silicon Valley businesses in New York, as well as get the traditional industry. So when the students come in, I think at the beginning, they were very much interested in Silicon Valley, and they still are. But there's also a mix of students that are very interested in the traditional businesses too. So we want to get them somewhere we can give them a wide exposure. And in addition, even if we're not physically in person in some of the treks, we've also expanded these industry treks where we've done online sessions throughout all of Asia and other regions of the world as well.
Now, explain to people why action learning accounts for so much of your program. I mean, what's the underlying philosophy of learning by doing instead of by sitting in a classroom and discussing a case?
So our action learning, actually, so much is built into our action learning. So we've launched something called Smart and Sharp Skills, which is actually done on the canvas of action learning. And its focus is basically on developing your soft skills to make certain that your soft skills as well as your academic skills are very strong in what you need in a global cross-cultural environment. So the reason that action learning is so important is many schools have projects that focus from the company, and you'll even do these within the class. However, the first semester, we usually focus on Malaysia, and the students will do projects within Malaysia. But the second semester and the third semester, the second semester is usually Southeast Asia. The third semester is on your own, which can be anywhere in the world. Some of the projects we source, or you actually have the option to source yourself. And then the fourth returns to Southeast Asia again. And the companies that you have a chance to work with are ones that are actually based in Southeast Asia, or as well as multinational firms. But you may know a multinational firm from your own country. It is very different when you go into a second country and you start working with the people. And not only do you have to define the scope of the project, not only do you have to figure out and work with all the local teams, then you have to actually come up and deliver on the project as well. Right. So it prepares you not only to work with your own culture, because while you're here, you get to learn the Malaysian culture as well as all the cultures of your classmates. And in your classmates, there's probably about 20 or 30 different nations represented at any given time. but then also get to hands-on work in. And the whole idea behind this is to make you a global person and to make it much easier for you to learn cross communications.
Yeah, those are really all good points and important ones. It's important to emphasize that from the very beginning, this is a global school that is
Yes.
located in Kuala Lumpur. It is not a Malaysian school, to the extent that you're attracting the best students from all over the world, and you're recruiting students from all over the world. So for someone who's never been to Malaysia, and has never walked into your building, what is that like?
So from what I've heard from the students, sometimes they're excited because it's new. So you have this nice curve of excitement when you first get there and fascination when you go and explore. The building is humongous because they built us a world-class building that was designed by architects from MIT. And in fact, when you go in the building, you'll notice there's a lot of similarities between the classroom styles. Even the cafeteria setup is very similar to what they did at MIT. So
brand new, because I know when the school first started, it used the facilities of the central bank.
Correct. So it literally opened this past year. So we've gone, I think, 1 year to get the bugs out, the student housing, because our campus is huge. And honestly, I often joke that a normal person couldn't afford the land here because the land is right by Merdeka Square, where Malaysia got its independence. It's a stone's throw from city center where all the businesses are. And it is prime real estate. And the students have the chance and opportunity to actually live there as well as attend school. So the student dorms are next door, and then it's a 2-minute walk to the building. And we've got Grab, which is the equivalent of Uber. And within 10 minutes, you can be almost anywhere from this location in the city.
And I want to remind everyone here, that oftentimes before we start these video chats, we converse separately.
Yes.
And one thing that Juliana said is that the place feels very much like an American business school. Can you explain that?
Okay, certainly. So within US business schools, you still have a global environment of students. Usually my previous experience was around 25 to 30% international. We actually flipped that. Our MBA student body is actually about 70% international and 30% Malaysian. But the administration has all of our, Charlie and several of our people that run it have all been US trained in the top leading business schools. And then in addition to that, our faculty that we hire have also come from absolutely globally recognized business schools as well. So a lot of them have been hired out of the top 10 and the QS top 50. And then in addition, we've been able to attract very senior business school professors that have also worked globally as well, whether it be Europe or US or Singapore. So you were in an environment where almost everyone is familiar and knows the business school setting. So it's run very much, I say US because I'm very US focused in terms of my background, but it's very much run like an international business school. So when I'm there, I feel a very strong sense of the US business school culture and how it thrives, and what makes the US business schools so famous is still in there, and it's in the DNA.
And of course, all the courses are in English.
Of course, yes. And in fact, some of the students have started like Chinese classes on the side so that they can get to know the language better, but no, everything is in English.
Now describe for me your typical intake. What's the class profile look like?
So our class profile is on average for our full-time program, probably we say that we admit as low as 2 years work experience, but in all honesty, it's usually a bit more than that, right? So our average student work experience is around 5 to 6 years, and some have worked up to 20 years, and some have worked a little less than that. We bring in, it's a small cohort. So usually our cohort size is around 60 to 70. We admit on quality. So we're very much focused on building a very strong reputation because we're so new. So if we have the right quality students, we have a large enough building that we can admit more. But if we don't find the right quality students, we'll admit in a class that's less, because it's all about the quality of the student that we bring in. Our students have strong backgrounds globally, and we do look for diversity in the class global. So we very much look from literally everything from the emerging markets through Europe, through Asia, through Central America, South America, US.
That's great. And what's your gender split these days?
The last time I looked, it was around 40% female and 60% male.
Yeah, that's very good. Wow. So now, if you go there, are there concentrations like in supply chain, finance, business analytics?
There are. In fact, you just named our concentrations, and we're in the process of building more as we speak. So because of the way we're structured, it's very different than a typical business school where you take 6 classes a semester and you take classes like twice a week. So our classes usually run about 1 to 2 weeks per course. So they're very intense, and you take them in small groups. So at most you will ever have is 2 classes at the same time. Most of the time it's 1 class at a time as you work your way through. But because of this, we're able to give students a lot of variety. So you get a very good core basis. In a lot of our core, the 1/3 of our faculty that teach from Sloan actually teach in our core. So you get a very strong foundation. And then we have around 15 to 16 different electives for you to choose from. And what I like about that is that if there's something that the class as a whole really wants, Charlie has always worked hard to bring it in. So when your students wanted more of data analytics, we brought in more data analytics. So we very much are in tune listening to what the students want and the class as a whole to bring stuff and create new curriculum as well.
Right. Now, how do you treat soft skills? And I know at the Asia School of Business, you don't call it soft skills.
No, we do not.
You used earlier, sharp skills, right?
Correct. So we call it smart and sharp skills. And the reason behind this is Professor Loredana is the one that actually turned coined these terms. And the reason she did it is because she said, you know, when you look back to the term soft skills, it was actually developed from the US military. And it was developed because they realized that there was just something different that was helping certain people get an edge as they got promoted and went into leadership within the military. So they didn't know what to call it, so they called it soft skills. But when you actually look at it in a global context and employment context, there's nothing soft about it. It's absolutely critical to your success as a manager and as a leader. So that's why she looked at it and she said, it's really smart skills, because without these skills, you don't succeed. And then she looked at the skills that we're teaching in the classroom. And honestly, we can teach you the skills today, but 10 years later, they're going to be different. So if you're not continuously learning and continuously evolving in your skill set, then you're going to fall behind as well. So she called these sharp skills because you always have to sharpen them up. So we can teach you what's leading today. And then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you need to keep actively learning, because if you think that you put your education aside and then you go to work, then you fall very far behind. So we put strong emphasis on smart and sharp skills. We use action learning as the canvas behind it. So you'll see a lot of this stuff delivered, like the workshops delivered through action learning in the classes. But our students get intensive workshops, they get team coaching, and we also have individual coaching available if the students wish to take part of it to help develop these skills to make them better leaders. So we try not.
This before, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
One of the most important aspects of a really good MBA program is your professional development. Sure, you're going to learn the basics in marketing and finance and accounting, stats, leadership strategy, operations. But what also is going to happen is you're going to be molded into a true professional. The rough edges on you will be sanded down. You will become an effective leader of people, an effective presenter, someone who is persuasive with others. And those are skills that you only learn in a business school. You're not going to learn that in a med school, in a law school, in a school of archaeology, or any other discipline. This is a special thing, the special secret sauce of a great MBA education. And I know that you take that very seriously at the Asia School of Business.
No, indeed. And in fact, actually, I work with working professionals very closely as well. And a lot of my working professionals actually come back already having master's degrees, but they still pursue the business school like a med doctor so that he can get the finessing that he needs to be able to run a hospital. As well as I have several engineers that return as well. And it's specifically for these skills you just mentioned.
Yep. Now, one of the things I like to do is to go out for a beer or a glass of wine with students after hours. And the question I inevitably ask is this one: what are the 3 things about the program that most resonated with you and that long after you graduate, you'll remember with a certain kind of fondness and affinity? What would your alums tell me?
Based on conversations that I've had with them, I believe what they would tell you is almost all of them, the first thing they mention is the action learning and the incredible places they got to travel. Because you can go travel to a big city, but it's radically different than when you go travel working business, solving a project. And in fact, the alums still talk about getting into little trucks and interviewing people on a local level so that they could actually find out about a product launch. They talk about market research, hands-on market research. Then they also talk about the classmates, because having classmates from all over the globe is a completely different experience because you form very deep-rooted friendships. And in fact, most of them become like family because our school is so close. So they talk often about the friendships. And in fact, they're all super close today. Like every time you talk to a class, you can ask someone from the class and they can tell you how almost everyone in their class is doing and what they're up to at any given moment. And then the other thing they often say is it changed their life. And the reason is because you can come in with a set of plans, but often our students change those plans along the way. When they get exposure to new cultures, to new countries, then they change where they want to go. So several of them came in with an approach to go one place, and they end up radically changing or going to work in Hong Kong or in China or in Thailand or staying in Malaysia or deciding they want a global career. So maybe they had thought they would go home to South America and they end up going to work in Europe instead.
Right. Yeah, those are really good points. And I have no doubt that that's exactly what an alum would tell me over a really tall glass of beer. So the other thing that you mentioned that I want to underline is, the other benefit of action learning projects, which is that they allow someone who is interviewing for a job to talk about something substantial. And typically, a lot of MBAs, they have that internship during the summer, and that gives them a basis of storytelling during the interview process with potential employers. But when you have 5 different action learning projects with 5 different organizations in different parts of the globe, you have a lot to talk about, right?
That's very true. And in addition to having a lot to talk about, you also have a rich network to talk with as well.
Yes.
Because students do build on that network that they build, but they talk about the projects that link because it can be, you can pick if you don't know where you want to focus, which often a student will come in and say, I want to focus in one area, but then they change their mind when they get exposure to the core and consider another. Here you can try it out because you get to sign up for the type of project that you want, whether it's in finance, whether it's in project management, whether it's in product launch. And from there, you can sample it. And some of our students have gone on the project of their dream role and they came back and said, I can't do this. I want to try something different. So then the next semester they try a different project. So it actually gives them a chance to sample and change their mind or reconfirm and then focus in on areas that they want to do.
Right. Now, I think it's a no-brainer that if you want a career in Asia, this is a wonderful opportunity for you. But what if you want exposure to Asia, but you ultimately want to work in Europe or North America or somewhere else?
In fact, actually 47% of our alumni do work somewhere else outside of Asia. And for the same reason, right? Then that's why they came. It's incredible because a lot of times what will happen is the companies actually want to hire you because of your knowledge of Asia. Because even though they may operate in Asia, if you're in a different country, you want to know how the country and the locals will think. And if you've done a project in the country, you have a better grasp of understanding the local market than someone who's only gone to visit for a week. Because you've worked there, you've actually applied skills, you've fallen flat on your face sometimes, because sometimes what you try doesn't work and you have to retry again. But on the other hand, sometimes it succeeds and you get those opportunities to learn and exchange and get to know people in various countries, because it's not just one country. When you do your projects, you're in multiple countries. And I would argue that it's the multiple country exposure that actually is the real key to it, as opposed to just one country exposure or 2 country exposure. And in fact, it's reflected in our outcomes as well, because Sean is in charge of our career management center. Explained to me, he's like, 80% of our alums have been promoted within 3 years of graduation. And we've had annualized salary growth of approximately 15% from our alums when he surveyed them.
Wow.
And that's including those that are in Asia, as well as the 47% that are outside of Asia.
Right. Those are good numbers. So how many cohorts have you graduated now?
So we've graduated 4, and our 5th one is about to graduate this May.
How about that? Okay, so this tells you how young the school is and how new and different. I think we've made that really clear. Now my question to you, Juliana, is we are in an unprecedented time. Sure, the pandemic is part of it. Technology is part of it, and how artificial intelligence, machine learning are going to change things in the future in terms of the way we work and the way we live. The world often seems like one chaotic mess to many people, with all kinds of tensions and conflicts. I wonder how all of the things that's going on in the world will ultimately inform what you do over the next few years.
Oh, I think it's quite significant, right? So literally how we've evolved is the curriculum started off, okay, because it's only 5 years old. So we've already had a chance to build and incorporate where we think we're going to go, right? And because we weren't tied by legacy, we were really able to create something innovative and new. And the nice thing about that is also because we're still new, we can still experiment. And we do experiment regularly and continuously. So we've designed the curriculum for a disruptive world, and it's rooted in independent problem solving. And at the heart of everything we do, that is our goal, is to make certain that the independent problem solving skills for every single student are there. But you've also had the chance that with the new technology, there are just different ways to learn. Now, I will tell you outright that in-person is far better. We strongly believe in in-person learning. During the pandemic, we did projects on Zoom because it was the only way that we could communicate and do things internationally when the borders were shut, but was certainly not the way to learn. But we've learned these skills as well, and these will also be incorporated into future things because there's so much there. And then also learning what doesn't work is a nice way of helping you learn what does work. And so through the projects and the students' experiments, they've had a nice chance to learn. And they still get to focus on the cross-cultural communication skills. They still have gotten to focus on the different projects and the different areas of expertise as they continue to build and grow. So we know that this will continue to be expanded.
Yeah, and I think the size of the program and the somewhat modular nature of the programming, where you have MIT professors who come over and you can do a class in 1 week and nothing else, helps the school be incredibly nimble and innovative to change on a dime anything that's really important, whether it's a new emphasis on climate change and sustainability, or diversity and inclusion, or business analytics, or any of the buzzwords that are bandied about these days. I think that that's one of the real opportunities that the Asia School of Business has, given its size and given how it was founded and how young it is.
Yes,
So,
and I will actually.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I will share that one of the things that makes us super unique, that sometimes drives people crazy, is we actually make certain that we keep that innovation in. So the student schedules aren't necessarily published 2 years ahead of time, because if we come up with a fantastic opportunity, we're going to leap and take it. So we recently had the opportunity to do a practicum in Johor with our the Center for Sustainability. It was a sustainability project, literally helping farmers, independent farmers, become more sustainable in palm oil. And it was given to us within 1 semester. We were able to adapt and put it in. And the reason that we did that is because palm oil is the 2nd largest export from Malaysia. And yet sustainability is the key word, because it's got a very bad reputation throughout the world. And yet there are ways to make it sustainable. And our students got to go in and learn how the process works from start to finish, and also give ideas on how to make it more sustainable.
Now, before I let everyone go, I want to share a secret. And I hope you don't mind, Juliana, the secret I'm about to share. And the secret is that this MBA program, has incredible value because, among other things, the school is very generous with scholarship aid. Isn't that right?
Yes, it is. It's extremely generous
And
because we want the right students, and we
exactly.
don't want finance to be the reason that we don't get them.
Yeah, and the reason is it's a new program, and it wants to be a world-class program, attracting world-class faculty,
Mhm.
employers, and students. And because it's so young, it's not as well known. And so the school has been very generous with scholarship aid to get the best and the brightest people on that campus to establish the reputation that it will have in years to come as a real leader in business education. So I think that this, to me, the Asia School of Business is a unique opportunity, besides being a unique MBA program, for really smart, ambitious people who want to, know more about the Asian economies, whether they end up in Asia or not, and to avail themselves of one of the most innovative MBA programs in the world. So that's my say.
Well, thank you.
Juliana, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
And for all of you out there, thanks for watching. If you want more information on the Asia School of Business, go to their website. There's plenty of great information, a really nice, cool website. And more importantly, I would say reach out to alums or current students and ask them, okay, what was that experience like? I think you'll be very happy with what you hear. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants.
Thank you.